What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Friday, August 14th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this 4-game main slate. Now, the last couple of games of the season, you guys got to check in and make sure these players aren't resting. I'm doing this video early in the morning. It's hard to know what the coach is going to do. So make sure to check your lineups before the games start. Make sure your players are playing. But with that said, let's get into it. Okay, let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Kyle Lowry has averaged 39.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 36.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's $6,900 FanDuel salary and $1,800 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. So I like Kyle Lowry here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, here's a value play for you, especially on FanDuel. Really like this play on FanDuel. I like Reggie Jackson from the LA Clippers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Reggie Jackson has averaged 21.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 21.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.5 times value. He should get the start again tonight. Patrick Beverley is going to be out. He's $3,900 FanDuel salary and $1,500 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. So I like Reggie Jackson here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. So at the top, you got James Harden, Paul George, both great plays. But here's a mid-range play for you. I like Josh Richardson from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 7th worst defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Josh Richardson has averaged 25.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 26 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $5,200 FanDuel salary and $1,000 more on DraftKings. So I like Josh Richardson here versus the Houston Rockets. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Pascal Siakam from the Toronto Raptors playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing small forwards. Pascal Siakam has averaged 40 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 37.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $7,200 FanDuel salary and $500 more on DraftKings. So just take a quick look at his last 3 games here. He's played 29, 28, and 35 minutes, so I expect him to get around 30 minutes. Unless they rest him, maybe he gets 25 minutes, but he can still produce in those minutes. He scored 34, 31, and 34 fantasy points in those games. So I like Pascal Siakam here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, a nice mid-range play for you. I like Darius Baisley from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the LA Clippers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Darius Baisley has only averaged 13.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 18 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. But take a look at these last 3 games, guys. He's played 26 minutes, 34, 26 minutes, and in those games, he scored 43, 44, and 35 fantasy points. So this guy's on fire. He's projected at 26 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. I think he gets 30 fantasy points or more and crushes value once again. He's 5,200 FanDuel salary and 200 more on DraftKings. So I like Darius Baisley here versus the LA Clippers. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, who do we have at the power forward position? A couple of value plays for you guys. I like Jeremiah Grant from the Denver Nuggets playing the Toronto Raptors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jeremiah Grant has averaged 21.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He scored 36 fantasy points in 28 minutes last game. He's projected at 25 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 4,800 FanDuel salary and 700 more on DraftKings. So I like Jeremiah Grant here versus the Toronto Raptors. Now, a nice value play here is Marcus Morris from the LA Clippers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing power forwards. Marcus Morris has averaged 26.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 27.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 6.6 times value. So even if he only scores 25 fantasy points, he's still hitting value. He's 4,200 FanDuel salary and 1,400 more on DraftKings. So I like Marcus Morris here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, moving on to the center position. Given this guy plays tonight, I like Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets playing the Toronto Raptors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and although they've been really good versus opposing centers, Nikola Jokic has averaged 44.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 43.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 8,300 FanDuel salary and 1,100 more on DraftKings. So I like Nikola Jokic here versus the Toronto Raptors. Okay, and a mid-range play for you here at the center position. I like Zubac from the LA Clippers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing centers, but Zubac has averaged 21.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 19 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 32, 32, and 29 fantasy points in those games. So he's only projected here at 25 fantasy points, which is 4.5 times value, but you can pencil him in for around 30 fantasy points. So I think he exceeds his value here tonight. He's 5,600 FanDuel salary and 400 more on DraftKings. So I like Zubac here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.